From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
Good day to you. I'm Marilee Joyce, and this is Eye on Washington, the only statewide Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. Every week, Eye on Washington takes you straight to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you. Today's topic, a potpourri of housing help. We'll tell you what one Nevada U.S. Congresswoman is doing to help some folks stay in homes and some homeless veterans to get in homes. And she is my guest today, of course, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Shelley Berkley.
Hello,
thanks for being here again.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
The housing crisis continues both to plague Nevadans fighting foreclosure and to affect veterans who have found themselves homeless in the rough economy after coming home from serving this country. And today on Eye on Washington, we'll tell you about her bill to protect those of you who were wrongfully foreclosed upon. We'll find out what she's doing to get our veterans off the streets and into housing. And we'll tell you about services she and the rest of the delegation offer you Nevadans with housing questions and needs. Last February, the federal government and 49 states announced a $25 billion settlement with 5 biggest mortgage servicers to provide help to borrowers who lost their home in a foreclosure or who are having trouble making their mortgage payments. It allows distressed homeowners to stay in their homes through enhanced loan modifications and principal reduction, as well as to provide payments to victims of unfair foreclosure practices. It's that latter part that concerned Congresswoman Berkley, who says that under current law, those settlement payments would be subject to who receive them to additional tax burdens. So she teamed up with Washington U.S. Congressman Jim McDermott and Connecticut U.S. Congressman John Larson to introduce the Homeowners Tax Fairness Act. It's legislation that would extend the exclusion for debt forgiveness on a primary residence through the term of the settlement agreement and exclude the relief payments from income for homeowners and service members. And in a statement about her bill, the Congresswoman said, quote, "Acting now will protect an estimated 1.7 million homeowners across the U.S., including 68,000 in Nevada, who are eligible to take part in this settlement and who deserve the protections this bill will offer." And, we're going to detail the bill later on in the show, but, your office gave me a couple examples of how that extra tax bite might hit. Here's one. Homeowners receiving mortgage debt forgiveness or direct cash payments for wrongful foreclosure would be subject to a federal income tax, for instance.
Right. Look, I'm very happy that our Attorney General, Catherine Cortez Masto, was able to join with 49 other Attorney Generals across the United States to ensure that this settlement was finalized. And it will, in fact, help thousands of Nevadans who, quite frankly, due to the bad behavior of the Big Five banks, found themselves in foreclosure when they didn't necessarily have to be. So now they will be participating in this settlement and getting settlement money in one form or another. It seemed incomprehensible to me that according to our current tax laws, they would be taxed as income all of the settlement they received from the government for having gone through this horrible mess of foreclosure. So it seemed to me that we should be exempting those homeowners that will be getting relief from this agreement between the Big Five banks and the attorney generals across the United States.
Another example of how that tax bite could hit, I know this particularly got under your skin. The additional tax could be owed on payments made to service members who were wrongfully foreclosed upon while deployed overseas.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, our current tax laws are what they are, and of course we understand them. But under the current situation, where we're going to be getting where we're going to have a $25 billion settlement to ensure that people that were wrongfully foreclosed on, including veterans when they were in the service and serving in either Iraq or Afghanistan or any other place across the planet, representing the United United States of America and putting their lives on the line for us. In many instances, their homes were foreclosed on when they were fighting thousands of miles away from home. So we wanted to make sure that they enjoyed the exemption as well. So any benefit they receive from the settlement will not be subject to a tax if, in fact, we can get this legislation passed.
Now you mentioned that 68,000 Nevadans are eligible for relief under the mortgage settlement, but I did see in my research the agreement's going to be performed over a 3-year period. So where did they get this figure, and could it affect more people?
It might affect more people, and as far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. Anybody that was foreclosed upon illegally or inappropriately by one of these banks that has entered into this agreement, they need to be protected, and they need to receive their fair share of this settlement. My concern was that to add insult to injury, after they'd been foreclosed on, after they had been inappropriately treated by the banks, after their families have gone through terrible hardship, they get a settlement, and then the federal government takes part of the settlement away as a normal form of income tax. That's why I thought it was very important to exempt these people, particularly veterans who weren't even in the country when their homes were foreclosed on. I think it's the right thing to do, and I suspect that we'll get bipartisan support for this.
And the big thing your bill does, it does make sure that exclusion from income covers that whole 3-year period while the settlement's paid out.
That was
exactly
a big part
right.
of it for
you, correct?
It was very, very important to do that, and this is going to take time. And I don't ask people to be patient. They have been patient enough, and they have suffered enough. But the Attorney General will get the money out. They're going to set up the mechanism. My part of this was to make sure when they received their settlement that it wasn't going to be taxed by the federal government.
And I think in already struggling Nevada with such a high number of foreclosures, you didn't want to see even more grief come to these people,
As
correct?
you well know, we have the highest mortgage foreclosure rate in the country. At one time, 1 out of 11 homes in the state of Nevada was in foreclosure. As of February, we were one out of 274 homes was getting a foreclosure notice in the state of Nevada, but we have been very, very hard hit. And if we're going to recover, we need to help people, A, stay in their homes, and B, get a little relief when they get their settlements.
Well, speaking of giving a little relief, we're going to come back and tell them all about the At Homes for Heroes Act.
Oh, that'd be great.
You're a big fan
Yes.
of that, too, to help our veterans, and that's right after this.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, brought to you by the National Mining Association, Caesars Entertainment, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, NV Energy, Western Lithium Corporation, the Frias Companies, the Nevada Mining Association, Skyline Restaurant and Casino, and the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County.
America's minerals have made us a nation of self-reliant dreamers, shaping our world and the endless ways we enjoy it. But red tape often forces us to import more than half the minerals we depend on. Minerals we already have. We don't import our dreams. Shouldn't that go for our minerals too? The National Mining Association. Learn more at nma.org.
You already watch Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column, putting a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
Heads we go, tails we stay. A coin flip. That's how it all began for what is now Nevada's largest transportation provider. Charlie Frias, with a can-do spirit and support of his loving wife Phyllis, bought ABC Union Cab in 1966. They then parlayed 5 cabs into a fleet of nearly 1,000. And today, Frias has over 2,000 employees and was recently voted Las Vegas's best company to work for. Frias, safe, reliable, simply the best.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of help for those of you facing foreclosure or are struggling with other housing needs. My guest today is Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Shelley Berkley. According to 2010 stats from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, veterans account for nearly 10% of the U.S. adult population, but account for 13% of sheltered homeless adults and 16% of homeless adults. In fact, the stats say there were nearly 76,000 homeless veterans on a single night in January of 2010, and roughly 145,000 veterans spent at least one night in a shelter during that year. Congresswoman Berkley says she'd like to see that situation end, and that's why she joined colleagues earlier this spring in passing the Homes for Heroes Act. The bill establishes a new Special Assistant for Veterans Affairs position within HUD to better coordinate programs to aid homeless vets. This person would be a liaison to the VA and to the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness and to state and local officials and nonprofit service organizations. And it requires an annual report to Congress on the issue of homelessness among America's veterans. And another homeless veterans news, some great news for Nevada. The state will get more than $1 million in federal funding for vouchers to aid homeless veterans in need of permanent housing. Under HUD's Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing Program, Clark County will get $670,000 in funding. Washoe County will get nearly $350,000. The funds reportedly will support the housing needs of approximately 10,000 homeless veterans statewide. I want to start, Congresswoman, with this Homes for the Heroes Act and the need for it. Mm-hmm. Nearly 150,000 veterans are spending at least a night in a shelter.
Well, as you know, and we've spoken about it a few times over the course of...
and that was a night a year, not over their lifetime.
Exactly. Yeah. We've spoken about homeless veterans quite often on this show. You know, every holiday I go down to U.S. Vets and help feed the homeless veterans. And I want to focus on July 4th because after I do the parade, I go over to U.S. Vets and we have a chow line and we feed the homeless veterans. I've noticed over the past 14 years that I've been doing this that the number of homeless on that chow line continues to grow. And what I noticed this past year is that there are more and more women. And that makes sense because more and more women are volunteering for our armed forces. They come back from their service to our nation, and because of the horrible economy, they find that they're unable to find a job, and before you know it, they're living on the streets of not only cities in the state of Nevada, in Reno, in Las Vegas, but throughout the United States. It is unforgivable and inexcusable for this country to be treating its veterans in that manner. Consequently, I joined with many other of our colleagues across the country to ensure that we created a position within, as a liaison between HUD and Housing Urban Development and the Department of Veterans Affairs to ensure that our veterans are given every opportunity to get off the streets, to have suitable housing, to get job training and counseling for those that are having emotional problems. It is the very least we can do for these men and women who have sacrificed so much for us.
And that annual report to Congress under it, hopefully it's not just a report that's going to sit on a shelf. It's supposed to both address the problem and it's also to provide some evidence that a solution is actually being sought. You mentioned that the liaison, not just on the D.C. bureaucratic position, hopefully, but
well, it better not be. Right? That's for sure.
Well, that leads to this. How can your office help in make sure that this special assistant is, for instance, working with Nevada and its homeless veterans organizations?
Well, you know, I have a great passion for these issues. In my office, me personally will keep up with this and make sure they're actually doing their job. Why do we need a report to Congress? Because it will demonstrate and keep this on the front burner. Because we have a tendency of, if we don't see it, it's not happening. And I think if more of my colleagues did what I did and went down and fed the homeless, if it's U.S. Vets or any other place, any other group that's actually taking care of our homeless vets, that they would perhaps be as passionate about this as I am, because you're seeing it. And these are not the dregs of society, for lack of a better word. These are intelligent, educated people that volunteered for our armed forces. They went overseas. They put their lives on the line for all of us. They come home, and they deserve better than being on the streets of our major cities.
You know, quickly as we're ending this segment, I did mention the $1 million in vouchers that Nevada's getting. It probably won't go as far as you'd like. It's considering only 10,000 homeless veterans will be helped nationally under the funding, but $670,000 to Clark and $350,000. It's a good start.
It's a good start, and we've already been able, because of these grants, we've been able to get about 600 of our veterans off the streets already. One of the concerns I had with the Ryan budget is it eliminated this program. And what are we to do with the 600 veterans that we got off the streets? Put them back? I mean, that's ridiculous. So that's why I think this is a very important issue, and I'll continue to continue fighting for our homeless vets.
And when we come back in our next segment, we're going to find out what else her office is doing to help those of you with some home issue needs, foreclosures, and any other questions you might have, and that's going to be right after this.
Every day, thousands of people in northern Nevada don't get enough to eat. 1 out of 5 children in northern Nevada go to bed hungry every night. But you can do something about it. Catholic Community Services of Northern Nevada has been providing help and creating hope in our community for more than 65 years. By donating food, time, or money, you can make a difference in a hungry person's life. When you make your generous donation to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, you're helping to fight the scourge of hunger in northern Nevada. In these tough economic times, now more than ever, we need to help those less fortunate. To find out how you can donate to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, call, click, or stop by, and together we can end hunger in northern Nevada.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org. The National Mining Association.
You already watch Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column, putting a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
Heads we go, tails we stay. A coin flip. That's how it all began for what is now Nevada's largest transportation provider. Charlie Frias, with a can-do spirit and support of his loving wife Phyllis, bought ABC Union Cab in 1966. They then parlayed 5 cabs into a fleet of nearly 1,000. And today, Frias has over 2,000 employees and was recently voted Las Vegas's best company to work for. Frias, safe, reliable, simply the best.
When it comes to state-of-the-art energy, Nevada is the right state to be in. A reliable, efficient network. Cleaner energy resources like solar, wind, and geothermal. And technology that will help you save energy and money at home. Learn more at nvenergy.com.
And And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of help for those of you struggling with foreclosure and facing other housing problems in this rough economy. We've been visiting with someone trying to help you out, Nevada U.S. Congresswoman Shelley Berkley.
Hi, Marilee.
Let's look now at just some of the many housing and foreclosure resources offered to you by the members of Nevada's congressional delegation. Since Eye on Washington airs on 9 stations statewide, those of you not in my guest districts will want to visit the site of your representative, and I'll give you those site address later in the program. But for those of you in our guest area, if you visit berkeley.house.gov and click on Homeowner Resources, you'll see a plethora of options aimed at helping you. The HUD Avoiding Foreclosure link takes you not just to the HUD site, but also offers direct secondary links to Nevada-specific information. And speaking of HUD, the Congresswoman's site also offers HUD-approved housing counseling agencies. There are links to the Federal Housing Administration's Avoiding Foreclosure section, as well as to the NeighborWorks America's foreclosure prevention resources. And there's a link to a Nevada Legal Resources directory whose 12 sections include property law, and a link to the Nevada Department of Business and Industry's Nevada Foreclosure Help site. Its many provisions include foreclosure options, how to contact lenders, and how to avoid scams. And again, while this information is for those of you in my guest District 1, those of you in Congressman Amadei's District 2 or Congressman Heck's District 3 should visit amadei.house.gov or heck.house.gov for similar offerings to help you. And of course, your senator's sites are reed.senate.gov and heller.senate.gov. Now, Congresswoman, we've dedicated full programs to your constituent services because you love talking about them, that you offer both through your office and your site. But since today's makes clear, let's talk housing. Those housing services likely are getting a lot of clicks with the number of foreclosures and other housing crisis people find themselves in right now.
Unfortunately, they are. And there are those in Congress that think we should wait until the housing market hits rock bottom and do nothing to help these people. That is not my belief or my philosophy. My job as a congresswoman is to do everything I can to help my constituents, and that's why we take this so seriously in my office. I have a woman in the Las Vegas office whose job is pretty well dedicated to working with people that call the office asking for assistance in mortgage foreclosure help. And in addition to all of the things that you cited, we have somebody in Vegas at my office that works with the banks if they're willing to work with us, and works with the homeowners so that we could ensure that we could help people stay in their homes.
You do offer I looked it up a lot as I was preparing for the show, and you've really offered a wide range of offerings for housing needs. Legal services for foreclosures, I bet is pretty new to the site, but it's important in a time of settlement for foreclosure fraud, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to that, it's important that my constituents know they have someone to turn to. We've done a number of seminars where we brought in people that understand the housing crisis, understand foreclosure, understand how to work with the banks and the other lending institutions to help people that show up, my constituents, so that they could walk them through the traps. It's not an easy process, obviously. It would be helping a lot if Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, which have 12% of the mortgages in the state of Nevada, and the banks, the private banks, actually help participate with mortgage modification. We can only do what we can do if we get help on the other side. And there are thousands and thousands of families who never missed a mortgage payment in their life that are finding themselves in financial difficulty and finding themselves losing their home. It's shameful.
Absolutely. I couldn't name all the links. I want to just get to a couple more on your site. Briefly, we have the Consumer Credit Counseling Service, the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. You've got phone numbers for Nevada foreclosure mediation offices. It's a great array of services. It's sad that so many are needed.
It is sad.
I do want to tell our viewers and listeners one more time, if you want to find out what's going on her site to help you, it's www.berkeley.house.gov.
And we're here to do everything we can to help people stay in their homes.
All right, when we come back, we're going to have our mailbag segment. That's right after this.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
America's minerals have made us a nation of self-reliant dreamers, shaping our world and the endless ways we enjoy it. But red tape often forces us to import more than half the minerals we depend on. Minerals we already have. We don't import our dreams. Shouldn't that go for our minerals too? The National Mining Association. Learn more at nma.org.
Bring this one.
Built on a fleet of just 5 cabs bought in 1966 by founder Shelley Berkley, Frias Transportation is now Nevada's largest transportation provider. Today, Frias has a fleet of nearly 1,000 vehicles and more than 2,000 employees. As an industry and community leader, Frias continues to create the future of transportation technology and management and actively supports the community, continuing the legacy of quality service in the Las Vegas Valley. Simply the best. Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
We are back with our closing segment of Eye on Washington, our mailbag segment. It's when we read a letter to my guest that a Nevadan has sent to them to the Joyce Communications mailbag page. And we invite our guests to respond to you right here. And Congresswoman, I know it's going to shock you. Got a letter about jobs.
Yeah.
This is from Arlene G. of Las Vegas. She says, Dear Congresswoman Berkley, I've heard a lot about jobs creation programs that Congress is doing. Can you tell me how many jobs have been created in Nevada as a result of any or all of these programs? And if so, what industries are benefiting most? What do you say to Arlene?
Well, I thank Arlene for the letter, and the reality is Nevada has the highest unemployment rate in the country. My number 1, 2, and 3 priorities are job creation, so I can make sure that our economy improves so we can get Nevadans and our fellow Americans back to work. She's quite right. There are a number of programs, but in the end, it's going to be a private enterprise, small businesses, and in our state, the gaming industry, improving along with the economy and ensuring that we can get people back to work.
So you've got Arlene's back.
I do, and I hope she realizes it.
Thanks for being
Thanks
here
a lot.
today.
I appreciate it.
You know, you can send a letter to one of Nevada's senators or House members. Just go to our website, joycecommunications.com, and check out more federal issues that impact Nevada while you're there. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Thanks for joining us on Eye on Washington today. I'm Marilee Joyce in Washington, D.C. Have a great day.